This tutorial assumes that you have completed the last one where we actually installed Deadline and we rendered some stuff out of C4G in it, and it was great. Everyone loved it. This one, we're just going to go ahead and render out of After Effects using Deadline, and then we will stack the After Effects render on top of the Deadline render to add a little bit of automation into our workflow. So I have already went ahead and did a beautiful, beautiful comp of the spinning cube. It's amazing from our original animation, which is just that. So I'm going to go ahead and just close After Effects for a second, because what I'm going to do, and this is our, I'll just show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download integrated submission scripts from the Deadline monitor, and I'm just going to choose After Effects. So I'm just going to download to my downloads folder, paste that in there, say OK, and here's my downloads folder over here, and you can see there is now After Effects. So I'm going to click on that, I'm going to click on installers, and I'll just double click on the installer. I accept, and I only have 2022 installed, so I will install it there. And view the README file. So we have to make sure before we run the submission script that we just check an option in the preferences. So I will go ahead and do that. Let me reopen After Effects. And I'll just open this again, and I will go to Edit, Preferences, Scripting and Expressions. I already had this checked, but just make sure that Allow Scripts to Write Files and Access the Network is checked, and say OK. So I also went ahead and put in the same folder, put this, and I already did a test render, so I'm fine just replacing this. So if I save that, I don't want you to be one. Here we go. I'm going to go up to my scripts, select Deadline After Effects Client. I'm only rendering on a single computer, so I'm going to keep this in here as a QuickTime. There are different options for rendering on multiple computers. We'll just keep it simple for now. Render on this one computer, render as a QuickTime. Whenever it is rendering as a QuickTime, it will just ignore the frames per task and just render everything once. Go ahead and hit submit. And give it a second to do its business. All right, submitted successfully. Let's see. It's going to pop up here in a second, and it's already rendering over here. All right, perfect. So that finished up. And again, we can explore the output, open up that file, and here this is, just rendered recently. Wow. So yeah, let's say we wanted to make a change to this. We can, let's go into our render folder here and take all these, and I'm just going to drop these into a folder called render backup 11, 18, 22, 01. This is not necessarily my preferred way of working, but it will work for what we're trying to do. Usually I just like to version everything up and keep it all clean, but it's harder to do that workflow in After Effects as opposed to something like Nuke or Fusion, because you can't select files that don't exist, which will make a ton of sense in a second. So I will do this. I'm also going to hit close, and I'm going to jump into here, and I will call this Deadline Toot version 2 for my comp. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to submit this again, but with a key distinction. So file, scripts, deadline After Effects. I'm going to go ahead and check the box that says submit as suspended. This will make it so that it will not render immediately. It'll just suspend, and I will have to kick the render off from the monitor, which is important because we don't want it to render nothing. So I'll say submit. Okay, can say close there, and this will show up in a second. So there it is, and it's grayed out. I probably should have updated the file name too to make it a little bit different, but I can just change the file name here if I wanted to as well. So I'll double click on this, and this opens up job properties. So I can change this to version 2 and say okay, just so that it shows up differently in here. So then what I'm going to do is let's make this so much fun. Let's add a new material onto the cube. All right, done. I'm gonna be done. Fine, this is done. So I'm not gonna change the output path because I want the After Effects job to pick this back up. So I save that, and this one is actually gonna take a bit longer. I'll still keep it batched in 10 frames since I'm only on one computer like we did last time. Extension, submit to deadline. I'll just call this V2. All this stuff will be the same settings, and that will be fine. So I will hit submit. So now what I can do is I can drag and drop this on top, and then I can make the dragged jobs dependent of the targeted job and say okay. And I would like to pen the job. So what that does is it is waiting for this whole job to be complete before it renders this. So I can say I have a really long render and I just want to walk away and have my comp render 2 when it's done. I can do that. That's what it's doing right now. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm at frame 7. So this is taking a good bit longer because I changed all that. But yeah, 10 frames happening pretty quickly. And again, just to see how that's looking, I can go ahead and explore output. And yeah, here are my okay, so deadline VO2 finished, this updated finish. So let's take a look. In the deadline toot, we should have deadline toot VO2. Wow. And there it is. And if we actually, let's see what happens if we open up After Effects. Classic After Effects, because this is cached, it's still showing the old one. So let me guess, I have to edit, purge, all memory and disk cache, sure. Hey, and there it is as well. Awesome, so that is rendering, little automated rendering workflow using Deadline, After Effects, and Cinema 4D on a single computer.